It's a very complicated concept, when you talk about Samadhi and people wrapping their mind around something like this, that, it's beyond just being physically, bodily present. So how do you really explain that to people?
There is a sentiment that is rising in the youth that I want to find meaning, I want to now explore the inner world. I have explored the outer world. I did not find what I was looking for, and I got in this whole cycle of just self-pleasuring. Now I must go inside and find something more deeper, more meaningful.
I kind of see myself somewhere in between. Someone who is reliant, yes, on technology, on AI, someone who's also self-aware, not hyper-awareness as you say, but self-aware. And for those people, what really would you say would push them towards that step of hyper-awareness, as you put it?
I think there has to be a motivation, because generally people are looking for something to end procrastination, and that something needs to be drastic. People wait for the year end to invest on their bodies and look better. People are waiting for a breakup to invest in their emotions. People are waiting for something to go on this journey of inner exploration.
You refer to immortality as a state of being rather than a literal concept. How do you respond, when there are some who might interpret it more literally?
We are going through a fad right now, and nobody is trying to understand the mind-body connection. Nobody is trying to understand that, yes, we prolong life, the body lives forever, but if you are miserable, then you are miserable forever.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Booked. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, and it's my pleasure to introduce our special guest this episode. He's a yogi, a mental health researcher, an acclaimed public speaker who's helped in taking the benefits of yoga to the world with his Yoga of Immortals program. Dr. Ishan Shivanand joins me to discuss his book, The Practice of Immortality. Thank you very much, Dr. Ishan, and welcome to Booked. I wish you were here with us in the studio. You're a busy man, so thank you first of all for your time.
Thank you so very much for having me, and my regards to all your listeners.
Well, I must say, Dr. Ishan, that I've been fully immersed in your book for the last 10 days or so, when I knew I was going to be doing this interview. And I can tell you that from someone who's essentially struggled to meditate, I'm now working on breathing techniques, courtesy your book. So thank you very much for that. Let me just get right down to it and ask you, about certain parts of the book that had me rather intrigued, and that's got me perhaps asking more questions throughout the book. And of course, it's referred to in the title also. You refer to immortality as a state of being rather than a literal concept. How do you respond, when there are some who might interpret it more literally? Because that was the first question I had.
So, we are going through a fad right now. Everybody in the world is trying to prolong their life. So presently I'm in California. There are all these boutique medical clinics that have come up, in which people are taking IVs, medicines, nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, just so that they can prolong their life. There is preventative health measures that people are trying to take, diet, nutrition, and it's all body based. And nobody is trying to understand the mind body connection. Nobody is trying to understand that, yes, we prolong life, the body lives forever, but if you are miserable, then you are miserable forever. So the yogis understood a simple fact, that we are our consciousness, and our consciousness is infinite, our consciousness is beautiful, and our consciousness can be evolved to connect to the universal consciousness, and that connection is called yoga. And if we can learn to have that connection, then we have the access to all the knowledge of the universe. We can go beyond space and time, and that's what yogis experience in their meditation, what we call samadhi. We say that person is in a state of samadhi. That means we are only able to look at his body, but his mind is somewhere else. It's beyond space and time. That person is not an astronaut where the body is traveling. He's like a chrononaut where the mind is traveling in time, or that person is a cosmonaut where the mind is going to places we can't even imagine. And maybe that's why the yogis in India, before the invention of telescope, can talk about the cosmos. They can, before the invention of the microscope, can talk about atoms. And this is something that I wanted to take to the world, to understand this superpower that every single child is born with, and that connection is immortality, but immortality of the mind.
It's a very complicated concept, when you talk about samadhi and people wrapping their mind around something like this, that, it's beyond just being physically, bodily present. So how do you really explain that to people, even to readers of the book? Essentially the idea must be also to kind of attempt to dumb it down so people can actually understand what you're talking about.
Madam, Samadhi is becoming very, very accessible because we are living in a time of access. We have a time in which people have the highest amount of calories, where normal, simple people have access to technology. If we lived 100 years before, there was a whole class system where the best was only available to the top 1%. Today, anybody can have access to phone, access to knowledge. And what people are realizing is that even after having all this, I'm not happy. So there is a quest, there is a sentiment that is rising in the youth, that I want to find meaning. I want to now explore the inner world. I have explored the outer world. I did not find what I was looking for. And I got in this whole cycle of just self pleasuring. Now I must go inside and find something more deeper, more meaningful. So around the world, I am seeing universities are investing in trying to understand the cognitive aspect of the human consciousness. Universities are investing to learn more about the Indian knowledge systems. They are doing research on yoga, they are doing research on meditation, and they are trying to demystify the whole concept of samadhi. And a day will come, you will find that we will have two types of people. And this day is not far away. This is like, I'm talking the next 10 years. Two type of people. One person who would just have given up and they will just submerge themselves in the world of AI. They will be walking around with headsets and virtual reality. So it's like Maya inside Maya, like Russian dolls. And they'll be happy with a life that is numbed. And there'll be other type of people who would be understanding, accepting samadhi, and then integrating it with their life, and will be living in a life of hyper awareness, hyper productivity. And that is the world that I am preparing for, because when AI becomes stronger, more dangerous, it is extremely important that these tools that the ancients left us with, we procure them and we start to prepare them for the world that is coming.
The two kinds of people that you speak of, Dr. Ishan, they are two extremes. And if you ask me, while I was thinking about what you were talking about, I kind of see myself somewhere in between. Someone who is reliant, yes, on technology, on AI, someone who's also self-aware, not hyper-awareness as you say, but self-aware. And for those people, what really would you say would push them towards that step of hyper-awareness, as you put it?
I think there has to be a motivation, because generally people are looking for something to end procrastination, and that something needs to be drastic. People wait for the year end to invest on their bodies and look better. People
Yeah.
are waiting for a breakup to invest in their emotions. People are waiting for something to go on this journey of inner exploration. And again, you said that I'm one of those people that are in the middle. I beg to differ, because I'm a mental health researcher. There's nobody in the middle right now. Every child is spending 5 hours on the internet, every child is connected to cell phones. We are living in a post-COVID world where almost everyone that I've ever worked upon as a researcher is suffering from non-substance abuse. And non-substance abuse is when we are so connected to technology, and technology has such an overwhelming control upon us that our mental well-being is 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 intertwined with this small gadget and device that we are carrying. And these people in the middle, they will have to choose a side, because as this technology becomes stronger, better, these algorithms that are fighting for our attention become better. So we will either be controlled by them, or we will be in control of our own self. And that is the choice which we must take. India had this concept of Gurukul. And Gurukul meant that before a child was thrown into the chaos of the world, before a child could be seduced by all the vices that the world had to offer, he was in touch with himself. He knew the purpose of his life. He knew why he was born. He knew emotional regulation, which is so very important. Emotional regulation. He knew how to regulate his emotions. He was taught how to control his breath. Breath is so powerful, like a martial artist uses his hands and feet to fight, and a normal person can't. A yogi can use his breath to do these wonderful things that a normal person can't. And a child was taught all this. Then he was thrown into the world so that he was centered. And I ask people that, why should I motivate you to be happy? Don't you want to be happy? Don't you want to be centered? Don't you want to be in a state of emotional regulation and awareness? Don't you want to be in control of your life? And that choice you have to take. And if you take that choice, then definitely there are people like me who are willing to help you reach to that place. But as I said, it is a choice matter.
So consciously,
Because
we have to take that first step.
if we don't take that choice, somebody else will take it for us. So if we are not being in control of ourselves, that's what I'm saying. Technology will take control. That is happening.
You've also given anecdotes in your book, and anecdotes from working with trauma survivors, from people in rather high pressure careers, and you've, of course, added emotional depth also to that. How did those experiences actually shape or refine the methods that you teach about also in the book?
So that is, so my job, and I talk about in this book, in the ashram, was meeting with people who would come daily. So I'm in that ashram, and in ashram there are these practitioners who are working day and night, the pros. So I wasn't working with them. I am working with the day visitors, and they are coming in, and I have been taught all these powerful, wonderful tools about yoga, about meditation. And the thing about yoga and meditation is the eventual goal is enlightenment. The goals are very far out, very magnanimous, very powerful. And when the day visitors would come, and I would think to myself that I'm taking these wonderful teachings to them, they would just be ready to imbibe them, to follow them, to just bring them in their lives. But when I would talk to them, they would be so shattered by their traumas or their miseries or whatever pain they were suffering from presently, that they did not have the vision to understand or grasp what I was saying, because they just wanted relief, little bit of respite. And that what their thought would be, that can you just give me anything? Forget enlightenment. I have this pain. I just want some relief from it. Can you do that? And I understood that we can't look at yoga the same way that the ancients looked at yoga. because the
Okay.
present time is very, very different. So we even have to adapt these yogic modalities, these meditative modalities, so that we can make them into short protocols that can easily be implemented into people's life, so that if I want them to walk on the yoga path, first I must develop them, give them that grounding, that stability, where they have that basic peace, and then we can talk about something grander, something much more magnanimous. And that is what even changed me, because as a person who grew up in the ashram, I myself did not have so much exposure to trauma. So, talking to people, working with people day and night showed me layers of the world in which we live in, and that helped me adapt the modalities so that they can be implemented in everybody's life. Yes.
Is it also, Dr. Ishan, a very emotional experience to kind of speak to these people, the trauma that they're going through, the fact that, they're divulging the experiences that they've had, what they're looking to overcome?
It depends upon what kind of a person you are. If you are a person that has very high amounts of empathy, then and you do not have a way of self-regulation, then you start to carry other people's trauma, because there are people who are what you call in popular vernacular Florence Nightingale complex. Somebody's mother is sitting and पूरे मोहल्ले की आंटियां कॉल करती हैं. So everybody is calling that one person, and that one person becomes the garbage dump, because you have high amounts of empathy, but you don't know how to self-regulate. So you are that universal dump. So yes,
Yeah.
then that can affect you in a negative way. But if you have high amounts of empathy, and then you have tools, it all comes down to tools. Today, even in war, the country wins that has the highest amount of technology. When it
Yeah.
comes to AI, the company wins that has the best technology. In the same way, if you have empathy, see, it doesn't matter if you're a psychopath or a sociopath, because then people are crying, and then you have acquired the skills to be a sociopath, which means just shut down that emotional part of yourself. But if you have high amounts of empathy, which I did, I was very happy that I had the tools with which I could regulate my own emotions, and then help the people that were in front of me. And both these things are extremely important, because, especially when I work with HCPs, healthcare professionals, many times I'm working with nurses and doctors, and they say that we are able to help the patients, but when we go back home, there is this residue that we are carrying. And what they mean by residue is this baggage, because you are dealing with death and disease on a
Yeah.
daily basis, you're dealing with trauma on a daily basis. It just fills up.
It's
it's
not easy, yeah.
it's not easy at all. So they benefited a lot from these yogic techniques, from these meditative techniques, because even they need a way to detox themselves. So I do believe if you have high empathy, these tools are of utmost importance to you. Yes.
Dr. Ishan, you're right about the false self that keeps us bound in a way to suffering. So, how does one begin to kind of distinguish this from their authentic, as you put it, immortal self, especially in moments of crisis, emotional turbulence, which every one of us have in our lives?
It's like when you look at a whale lives in the water, but a whale is a mammal. And if a whale needs to breathe, it needs to come to the surface. So the whale's life, the whale's children, the whale's food, everything is inside the water, but it needs to come to the surface to breathe.
Yeah.
In the same manner, us human beings, we are complicated. We are living in this water of Maya, And this world can be very overwhelming. Time to time, just like the whale goes to the surface to breathe, I recommend people to meditate and raise their consciousness to connect to the higher self. If the whale doesn't go up and breathe, what will happen to the whale?
It's
The
gone.
whale will perish.
Yeah.
Exactly, and not just immediately perish. First, the life quality will go down, suffering will increase, then it will perish.
Yeah.
In the same manner, a person who has no access to his higher self, a person who has no access to his higher forms of consciousness, suffering will increase, quality of life will go down, and then finally they will perish. So I recommend every single day meditate, raise your consciousness, connect to that higher self. And a few superpowers come. One are the superpowers that are tangible, that I do research upon. Things like your quality of sleep will become excellent. And sleep is extremely important because so many diseases today are because of chronic insomnia. So your sleep will
Yeah.
become better, your resilience will become better, your anxiety levels will go down. You will, as I said, have better state of emotional regulation. And then there are the intangible qualities that will come inside you. You will be more happy. You will have the power to forgive. You will have the power to accept, because you will understand what is the point of this attachment. Every person is going through their own issues, and I can't control them, but I can control how I can react to them. And that choice is what comes from a person who practices meditation. So I really recommend people that connect to that immortal self. And that can only happen if you do it every single day, because if you stop, then you sink in this Maya.
One of the unique aspects that I found very, very interesting in your book is also that you have a blend. You have a blend of ancient yogic wisdom combined with also modern neuroscience. How did you blend the two in your own experience and kind of, push that towards readers as well? What's the kind of feedback that you receive that you're bringing these two concepts together?
So, madam, I was a very curious child and I used to ask a lot of questions. And fortunately, I was born in India, where there is a plethora, a wealth of knowledge. But unfortunately, I was born in India as well, where if you ask too many questions as a kid, you get whooped. So that was my life, that I had that curiosity and I knew someone had the answer. And I also got to know very early on that if they don't have the answer, they become extremely aggressive. So then I started to think that as I will grow up, I will pursue science as well, because so many times when we are working on the Indian knowledge systems, we know that the benefit exists, but if we want to institutionalize the Indian knowledge systems in today's world, which is extremely important, because if we look at the graph of the stress and the problem of mental health issues that kids are having, it is a silent pandemic that has real world
Very true.
consequences. If you look at, yeah, there are a lot of things, and I wanted to implement these Indian knowledge systems. I wanted to institutionalize them, and to institutionalize them, we need data and we need to research. So I came to the United States. I started researching on all these knowledge systems that had acquired when I was in the ashram, these ancient systems, and we would implement them after doing the research so that it can be ongoing. And while we were researching, we found out that just like in spirituality, there are gaps in our understanding, and we need to work on those gaps. Even in science, we saw that there are gaps, and we need to work upon them. And I started to see that in the whole medical community, now there is a desire for an approach towards integrative healthcare. And integrative healthcare means that wellness should not just be about the body, it should be about body, mind, emotions. So there are a lot of doctors who are able to prolong life, but now they are started to question the quality of life. And
Yeah.
they want that the patient that they are working upon should not just be healthy physically, mentally as well. So I found that all these healthcare workers, all these medical institutions, all these universities, they were very willing to implement these Indian knowledge systems, because when we want to do the research, we need backing. We need backing from universities, we need backing from doctors. And I was so very happy that they had such an open mind, that they were ready to partner with us. And then we had these amazing findings, amazing data, in which we published in the top scientific journals of the world, which even your readers can look at. You just have to go to Google and type down Yoga of Immortals research, and you'll find a multitude of studies that we have done. And I realized in this world, if we are just working on spirituality, or if we are just working on science, then we are just working on half of the equation, on either the left brain or the right brain. True spirituality can only occur if there is a marriage, if there is an integrative healthcare between science and spirituality. And that is where I found the best results for myself and the people that I work with. Because a lot of the time, spirituality is just regurgitating old answers that you read in a book. Experts are just people who are parrots who have memorized things but have never implemented them in their own life. So these are what I like to say, fans. So, you go and watch a cricket match. They are the athletes and they are the fans. The fans know everything about the sports. The fans are excited about the sports. The fans are aggressive about the sports, but they can't play cricket. They have this big pot belly and they're just sitting there eating their nachos with their big glass of beer and just yelling at the TV screen. In the same way, I found the same is with theology, the same is with Indian knowledge systems. They are fans who know everything, but they've never practiced it. And then they are the real athletes, the athletes who are focused upon the game itself. A yogi is an athlete, a philosopher is a fan. And I love working with yogis, and I found out that the doctors, the healthcare workers are the ones that have the perfect mindset to be a yogi. The engineers, the scientists have the perfect mindset to be the yogi. And that's where the marriage happens. And that's how I try to implement my teachings, my storytelling as well. It is for the modern yogi, the modern scientist.
How very, very interesting. This has been an amazing conversation, and honestly, I could go on and on discussing all of the subjects that you brought in to this book. But I think we've touched the surface perfectly, so that readers also get a bit to learn from your book. Congratulations on your book, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here with us in this edition of Booked. For all of you watching this broadcast, I highly, highly recommend the Practice of Immortality. It's, of course, started off a new practice for me of meditation, and I hope it does that for all of you watching this broadcast as well. Dr. Ishan, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining us here on India Today.
Thank you so very much, madam.
Thank you.